Justice Mohammed Garba Umar of the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja on Friday apparently rejected the plans by the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, to stop the upcoming Monday, October 20th planned mass protests by Nigerians to demand the release of the detained Biafra Republic agitation leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but, according to the organizer of the protest, Omoyele Sowore, after the judge initially declined to grant the Nigeria police force an ex-parte motion to stop the planned protest in the open court, the Federal High Court judge, Justice Umar, reportedly granted the motion in chambers, imposing a ban on protests at Aso Rock Villa, National Assembly, or Unity Fountain in Abuja. We await a certified true copy of the order, which our lawyers will review. The protest remains unstoppable. While this is ongoing, the United States, U.S. Embassy in Nigeria has warned American citizens to be far from the protest areas and limit their movements in the Nigeria capital city, Abuja, saying, the planned protest may lead to disruptions and violence. Detailed of the court action as captured by Punch newspaper. The Federal High Court in Abuja has refused the Nigeria police force's bid to stop the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest, allowing it to proceed as scheduled on Monday, October 20, 2025. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, had dispatched police lawyers to the court to move an ex-parte motion against activist and protest organizer, Omoyele Sowore, in a bid to legally preempt the planned demonstration slated for the Aso Rock Villa. However, Justice Umar of the Federal High Court, Abuja, declined to grant the motion, which would have immediately restrained the protest from taking place without hearing the opposing side. The judge instead instructed the police to formally serve notice of their application on Sowore and adjourned the case until Tuesday for a proper, contested hearing. Reacting to the judicial decision, the protest convener, Omoyele Sowore, affirmed the court's decision as a victory for civil liberties and doubled down on the scheduled protest. In a statement issued on his X handle on Friday following the ruling, Sowore said, IG of Police, Nigeria, Kayode Egbetokun dispatched police lawyers to sue me, in an effort to halt the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest scheduled for Aso Rock Villa on Monday. However, the judge, Justice Umar of Federal High Court in Abuja, refused to grant the ex-parte motion, instead instructing him to serve me notice and adjourning the case until Tuesday for a proper hearing. The demonstration, organized under the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu, is intended to draw attention to the prolonged detention and legal fate of Kanu. The police action was seen as an attempt to leverage the courts to prevent a potentially sensitive gathering near the seat of Nigerian power. The adjournment to Tuesday ensures that the planned Monday protest is not currently constrained by a court order, setting the stage for a potential high-profile confrontation between protesters and security agencies around the presidential villa. Channels Television also on Friday reported that, ahead of the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest slated for Monday, October 20th in the nation's capital, the U.S. Embassy in Abuja has issued a security alert to Americans. In a statement published on its website on Friday, the embassy cautioned that the protest could lead to disruptions and potential violence. The embassy advised U.S. citizens to steer clear of the protest areas and limit their movement across the city. The U.S. Embassy in Abuja informs U.S. citizens that the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest has called for peaceful demonstrations on Monday, October 20, 2025, in Abuja. There may be roadblocks, traffic, congestion, and confrontations between police and protesters that could turn violent around Eagle Square and the central business district. The embassy advises all U.S. citizens to avoid this area and to severely limit all movement throughout the city on Monday, October 20th, the statement read in part. The embassy recommended that children stay home from school and that domestic staff who commute from outside Abuja do not report to work on that day. It also called on all Americans in Nigeria to take heightened security precautions. The planned protest was announced by activist and former presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore, on his X account on October 9th. Sowore stated that the protest would take place on October 20th and be directed toward the Aso Rock presidential villa. He described it as a historic and peaceful demonstration aimed at securing the release of the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. Kanu, who is currently facing terrorism charges at the Federal High Court in Abuja, has been in custody since June 2021 following his controversial extradition from Kenya. But shortly after the aforesaid media reports, Omoyele Sowore, in a statement through his social media accounts on Friday, said that, after failing to obtain a legitimate court order to halt the unstoppable Free Nnamdi Kanu protest, the Nigeria police force has now resorted to a fresh wave of panic-driven measures. In Ondo State, police authorities have reportedly ordered that officers sympathetic to the movement be confined to their barracks, an action that exposes the deep unease within the system. Rather than engage with the legitimate and peaceful demands of citizens, the police are turning their energy toward internal repression and fear tactics, a clear sign that the movement's message has struck a nerve. The people are awake, and the movement remains unstoppable. In another statement on Friday accompanied with video footage, Omoyele Sowore said, earlier today, the Nigeria Police Force, FCT Command invited Barrister Maxwell Opara to discuss the planned Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. Upon our arrival at the command's entrance, we were abruptly stopped by a police contingent stationed at the gate. Officers claimed the new commissioner of police was resuming duty and could not attend to visitors until after his official resumption rituals. When we were eventually allowed through, the senior police officer, Habib Mohammed, who had extended the invitation, met us and presented a copy of the organizer's letter seeking police protection. Barrister Maxwell Opara had not arrived at that point, a letter filed by Barrister Opara as legal representative of the protest movement. But the tone of the meeting shifted quickly after the senior police officer Mohammed received a phone call. He informed us that the Deputy Commissioner of Police, DCP, in charge of the State Intelligence Department, SID, wished to meet us. When we arrived at his office, he expressed surprise at my presence at the FCT command, claiming that no invitation had been extended to me personally. He remained polite, and we left courteously. Shortly after, Barrister Maxwell Opara arrived to the Supol's office, where the conversation turned tense. The officer issued a veiled threat, warning that Barrister Opara would be held responsible if anything goes wrong anywhere in Abuja on Monday. Barrister Opara reminded him that this was precisely why the organizers had sent a formal notification to ensure a peaceful and lawful demonstration. The officer reportedly began shouting, and the meeting ended abruptly. According to Barrister Opara, it became clear that they did not want me present because they were seeking someone they could intimidate. Not long after we left the command, the illegal IGP directed police lawyers to obtain a court order to stop the protest. However, the Federal High Court judge declined to grant the order in open court. It was later reported that a limited purpose order was issued, but no such order has been served on the organizers. The Free Nnamdi Kanu protest is unstoppable. We are proceeding as planned, peacefully, lawfully, and with unwavering resolve, Omoyele Sowore stated.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Whenever controversies surround Rufai Aseni, the outspoken and fearless broadcaster on Arise Television, one recurring argument often resurfaces in public discourse: the claim that Rufai Aseni is not a journalist. Critics are quick to emphasize that he lacks a formal academic background in journalism, having originally trained in animal anatomy. But beyond the semantics of qualification, a deeper question emerges. What truly defines a journalist, and what are the core functions of journalism in society? As mass communication teacher, we teach students from the very first class that the media exists to inform, educate, entertain, and preserve cultural heritage. Journalists also play the crucial roles of agenda setting and acting as watchdogs, holding public officials accountable and amplifying the voices of the governed. The media's capacity to shape national conversations is immense. By highlighting specific issues and giving them prominence, journalists help raise awareness and influence public perception. It is through such agenda-setting functions that societies engage in dialogue, debate, and reform. thereby playing participatory role in the process of governance. When examined through this functional lens, it becomes clear that Rufai Sani has consistently fulfilled these journalistic responsibilities over the years. His incisive questioning, fearless commentary, and commitment to public accountability have made him one of the most recognizable broadcast personalities in contemporary Nigerian media. A notable example is his now famous exchange with the Minister of Works, Engineer Dave Umahi, on Arise Television. Before that encounter, few Nigerians had publicly interrogated the cost per kilometer of road construction projects executed by government agencies. While the minister initially dismissed Rufai's question as elementary, the issue soon gained traction nationally. In fact, subsequent clarifications by Umahi, and even a public response by Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, demonstrated that Asani's line of questioning had forced an important accountability conversation into the mainstream. Through this singular act, Rufai did what the media are mandated to do: hold power accountable, enlighten the public, and stimulate civic engagement. It is true that a formal qualification, such as a diploma or degree in journalism, is generally considered a prerequisite for professional practice. Yet, history tells a different story about the Nigerian press. Many of the country's most celebrated media pioneers, from Herbert Macaulay to Ernest Akoli, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and Obafemi Awolowo, were not trained journalists in the academic sense. Nevertheless, through passion, intellect, and experience, they became towering figures in the nation's journalistic landscape. In the decades that followed, major Nigerian newspapers like The Guardian, The Punch, The Tribune, and the defunct National Concord were edited by professionals whose backgrounds spanned literature, political science, law, and the humanities, not necessarily journalism. What mattered was their adherence to journalistic ethics and commitment to truth. Today, journalism is evolving faster than ever. The rise of social and digital media has democratized information dissemination, giving birth to citizen journalism, a space where individuals, regardless of academic background, can contribute meaningfully to public discourse. The boundaries of professional journalism have expanded, now encompassing voices trained in diverse disciplines but committed to the principles of truth, balance, and fairness. In this context, Rufai Sani's 2 decades of consistent broadcast experience, his engagement with media ethics, and his pursuit of professional development courses, all reinforce his credibility. His work reflects a mastery of journalism's essence, even if his educational roots lie elsewhere. The debate over Rufai Sani's academic background may continue, but it misses the more profound point. Journalism is as much a calling as it is a profession. It demands curiosity, courage, critical thinking, and an unwavering commitment to public interest. By these measures, Rufai Sani has proven himself a journalist, not by certificate, but by conviction and consistent service to society. Writer Isa Abdulaziz, Mass Communication Lecturer, Federal Polytechnic, Auchi.
Minister, I would like to interject. This monologue is quite long. So, at first, Minister, after you had gone to report me in front of President Tinubu and said all sorts, anyway, I am not beholden to you. My job is accountability.
You are too small for me to report you to the President.
No, but they are empirical.
Too small.
Minister, let me speak. Minister, let me speak. I have empirical evidence. The world watched it on the commissioner of the project when you mentioned the questions I asked you to the president. That was reporting me to the president officially. The world watches, so you don't need to dilly-dally about the empirical facts. I don't talk without facts, Minister. You know, when I have my facts, I talk. And I insist on my question when I ask on cost.
Let me only address you.
Minister, you will not allow me speak. The problem is you will not allow me speak. You spoke for over 20 minutes, over 10 minutes.
Because you don't know what you are speaking.
But let me speak. Let me speak. You will not. You will not allow me speak. You see, if you can just keep quiet and be calm and just allow me speak, I'll be happy. All right. So my question still persists as regards the cost per kilometer. You cannot tell me that we don't have a right to know the cost per kilometer. Even if it's an undulating landscape, give us all the facts and the details of the cost per kilometer. That's all we'll ask for. Other questions as regards the loans taken. Let me finish.
No. I will
Let
keep
me
quiet
finish.
for you to damage
Let me
information.
finish.
Listen to me.
Minister, you will
Listen
not
to
allow me to speak. The minister will not allow me to speak.
No. Don't do that with me.
Minister will
Don't
not
do
allow
that
me
with
to
me.
speak.
I was in your studio.
Minister will not
and
allow
when
me
the
to
first
speak.
section was on, and I ran the figures. And what you're asking us is 750 kilometers of coastal highway. We should tell you cost per kilometer. So you multiply by 750. That's nonsensical.
No, so tell me the cost per kilometer. There's nothing too hard for you to tell me that figure. You've not still told me that figure, so I was right on that point. The second point,
because you don't understand anything.
The second point I'm trying to make is
You don't understand anything. I'm a professor in this field.
Okay.
You don't understand anything.
What university gave you professorship in this field?
You cannot ask me to tell you a cost.
What university gave you professorship in engineering? I didn't know you were Professor Mai, Minister. I didn't know. So please, you've not been able to. You've never
been professor in practice.
In practice.
I'm professor in practice.
Okay.
I understand engineering very well.
So secondly,
and you have no knowledge of what you ask.
If you will let me,
you have no knowledge.
If you will let me ask.
So you keep quiet.
Okay.
And then stop.
Okay.
You know.
Minister, it's all right. Keep dignifying yourself and let the world see you for who you are. If you allow me speak. The other 100 kilometers that you said they've added to it, we would like to know the cost per kilometer of that one. And the Winsome Homes, the case is in court. Now, I would like to know the cost per kilometer for that one. I would like to also know the over 700 billion first tranche of loan you guys got for this project. Has the money been spent? How was the money deployed? I would also like to know. I would also like to know the terms of that loan. All right, how many years? What's the payback period? What's the payback term of that loan? And for the Winsome Homes, isn't it interesting that as somebody that's been a governor in the state, you know the law, a case is in court, and then you're coming to talk about the details of the cases in court. Because you denied that the case was not in court, now you've already accepted that the case is in court. So is it not just better you thrash it out with the woman that has been reporting a case in public that we all heard, and I ask you questions based on that? So, Minister, just answer the questions. I've got no axe to grind with you. You know that. We've spoken many times. In fact, when your people call to book, I booked them, and I said you should come on air. So please just tell us those information. It's very important, Minister.
I'm not hearing, even though this guy is not.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Nigerian Army Authority has issued a statement denying threat messages issued against members of the public ahead of the planned mass protest slated for October 20, 2025 to demand for the release and freedom of the detained Biafra Republic agitation leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, just as the organizer and chief campaigner, Omoyele Sowore, the publisher of Sahara Reporters news media, met to seek understanding with the former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who, according to Sowore, promised to visit President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to discuss the issue with him. Nigerian Army, in a statement on Friday, said, "The attention of the Nigerian Army, NA, has been drawn to a misleading publication by Sahara Reporters alleging that a Facebook page purportedly operated by military personnel issued veiled threats against certain individuals ahead of a planned October 20th protest. The report is not only false but a deliberate attempt to misinform the public and discredit the noble institution of the Nigerian Army. For the avoidance of doubt, the Nigerian Army has only two official social media handles, namely at HQ Nigerian Army and at Nigerian Army Info, which are duly verified on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. Any other page or account outside these verified handles does not belong to the Nigerian Army and should be disregarded in its entirety. It is pertinent to state that certain civilians and online content creators now operate pages that post military-related contents purely for the purpose of generating online traffic and monetary gain. Such pages have no affiliation whatsoever with the Nigerian Army. The NA therefore dissociates itself completely from any post, statement, or activity emanating from these unauthorized sources. The Nigerian Army remains a professional, disciplined and apolitical institution committed to the defense and unity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In the discharge of its constitutional responsibilities, the NA continues to uphold the highest standards of professionalism, adherence to the rule of law, and respect for human rights. The general public and media practitioners are hereby enjoined to verify all information concerning the Nigerian Army only through its official platforms or the Directorate of Army Public Relations before publication or dissemination. The Nigerian Army therefore urges Sahara reporters and other media outlets to exercise due diligence in verifying the authenticity of their sources to avoid the spread of falsehood capable of misleading the public and undermining national security. Omoyele Sowore, in a statement made available through his personal social media accounts on Friday, said that, "Earlier today in Abuja, I met with former President Goodluck Jonathan to discuss the continued incarceration of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. President Jonathan agreed that there is an urgent and compelling need to address this matter decisively and justly. I thank him sincerely for recognizing the importance of resolving Kanu's case in the interest of peace, fairness, and national healing. Particularly assuring was that he promised to meet Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to discuss this issue as soon as possible." With this, former President Jonathan joins a growing list of Nigerians who have called for justice in Nnamdi Kanu's case, a list that already includes ex-Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Femi Falana, San, Senator Shehu Sani, and many others across political and regional divides. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu remains in detention today because he took up the just cause of confronting the long-standing issue of marginalization in Nigeria. Like other ethnic and regional activists whose politically motivated cases have been withdrawn or dismissed, Nnamdi Kanu should also be released without further delay. I once again call on all political, cultural, ethnic, and religious leaders across Nigeria to join this noble cause. In particular, I invite my brothers and sisters from the Southeast, Mr. Peter Obi, Charles Chukwuma Soludo, Alex Ciotti, Francis Nwaifaru, Peter Mbar, Hope Uzodinma, Obiageli Ezekwesili, John Mbata of Ohaneze and Igbo worldwide, as well as Nigerians of conscience everywhere, to lend their voices to the call for justice and freedom. Nnamdi Kanu should be set free, and I remain firmly committed to peacefully mobilizing for justice and freedom in this matter. On Thursday, Omoyele Sowore in a statement challenged the decision to set free and grant presidential state pardons to convicted individuals by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu without considering the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. According to Sowore, today, President Bola Tinubu extended pardons to a long list of convicted individuals, including a cocaine trafficker serving a life sentence, an alleged coup plotter, Maman Vatsa, the late Nnamdi Azikiwe and Herbert Macaulay, and even Farouk Lawan, the former lawmaker convicted for taking bribes on tape. He also pardoned other known fraudsters and corrupt politicians. Yet, in all of this, Tinubu refuses to even consider the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who has been unjustly detained for years despite multiple court orders mandating his freedom. It is a glaring hypocrisy. Criminals and political thieves are forgiven, celebrated, and rehabilitated, while a man demanding self-determination and justice remains behind bars and tossed around in courts with the pretense that somehow it is about law. Earlier, Sowore raised an alarm that the presidency is using DSS to contact and threaten politicians from the Southeast, warning them not to endorse the Free Nnamdi Kanu Now movement or participate in Free Nnamdi Kanu Now, the planned march to Aso Rock Villa. They've contacted some names mentioned in my postings to gaslight them, claiming the protest was to foment chaos and violence. They're terrified. However, we move forward and cannot be stopped.
Osazuwakan Radio, bringing you the news in a more digital way. Osazuwakan Radio, bringing you the news in a more digital way.